Scuba diver death blamed on instructor. Bethany Farrell took to the waters at the Great Barrier Reef for her first ever dive, but sadly she became separated from her instructor. Bethany was found an hour later by her instructor lying on the seabed at Blue Pearl Bay. This all happened back in 2015, and now the family must relive that day because the inquest has now started. And there seems, even before her first dive, there may have been red flags. Even before Bethany went into the water, she was having difficulty with her equipment. They haven't specified what difficulties there were, though, so it could be anything from a loose fin strap to a faulty regulator. We just don't know right now. When they did make it into the water, they only had visibility between 1 and 3 meters. So normally at this popular diving spot, you can see for about 50 meters. So yeah, there's a big difference, especially for an instructor, as you have to stay close to your students. So how did Bethany get separated from her instructor? Well, this is when things get a bit complicated. The dive was taken at an alternative site because the usual dive site was busy. With only 2 students and poor visibility, the instructor was leading the dive and turned to see where she was going and making sure that she wouldn't bump into anything. When she turned back, she realized that Bethany was missing. Now, it isn't unusual to turn around whilst leading a dive, and that will be the moment that something happens. After she noticed Bethany was missing, the instructor returned the other diver to the surface and waited for her to be collected before she started a search for Bethany. The instructor went back down and searched for about an hour, and in the end found her on the seabed at around 10 or 11 meters off the usual path that they were on. The Telegraph have reported that a crew member from another group saw Bethany on the surface waving in distress, and her dive computer showed that she may have been on the surface for 40 seconds before sinking again, which may have been the moment when the instructor had turned, and she bolted to the surface. PADI have stated that in the Discover Scuba standards, the maximum depth is 12 meters and a ratio of 4:1 is the maximum, so they were within the guidelines, but the conditions were up to the instructor's discretion. So what's next? Well, the inquiry is still going on, so when we have more news, we will of course try to keep you up to date. But the dive company that Bethany was diving with was fined $160,000 for general supervisory failings. Let's hope this gets sorted soon and doesn't happen again. Our thoughts, of course, go out to the Farrell family.